Not every camera channel on YouTube has over 100,000 subscribers.
No, you can't have a silver play button.
But recently I've discovered some brilliant small camera channels that I just had to share with you. Humor is one of the greatest attractions that a camera channel can have for me. When I watched Peter Gregg debating whether or not to get the white body for the Sony ZV-E1, it made me smile because I could really relate to it. He wondered if it would make him stand out in public too much, and that's something I've always wondered. And when he asked if it would be too girly, that's a problem I never really considered.
I would like to get a white E1, ZV-E1, because it's cooler for Miami. Number 2, I'm wondering if this is going to attract too much attention. What do you think about that? And number 3 is a little bit silly, but I'm going to ask it because you're part of my family. Is it too girly for me? It's a white camera. How do I look with a white camera? Okay, so I'm going to step back here. Hey, it's Peter Gregg, Miami, Florida, and I'm sitting here talking to a white camera. What do you think about that? I'm actually vlogging, so don't judge me. I just want to ask you, does the white camera maybe seem a little girly for me? I'm not sure. I haven't asked that question out loud before, but I have asked it in my own mind, in my own heart.
One feature that makes a camera channel stand out the most to me is practicality. And that's exactly what I found with this channel, Alyssa and Jay. When I want to see how two cameras compare, like the Sony a6700 and the Lumix G9 II, I love it when someone uses the cameras in everyday situations. The fact that he used both cameras extensively and was able to show that the Lumix G9 II had a slower boot-up time than the Sony a6700 is something that I'd really consider in making my buying decision.
4 months into using the G9 II, I sold it off due to the frustration it caused. I carried G9 II for my trip to Zurich, Santos, Klinthollersee, Liechtenstein, France, Kauai, and Erawan National Park, and I used it as my primary photos and video camera. Using the G9 II was the only annoying part of all those trips. I am not going to explain in detail the frustrations I faced using the G9 II, as you can find several videos in my channel about how I came to despise the G9 Mark II. Rather, in this video, I want to show you how the Sony a6700 is better in more usable ways than the G9 II. Faster boot-up time. G9 II takes ages to turn on to ready-to-shoot mode, while the Sony a6700 consistently takes just 2 seconds to turn on to ready-to-shoot mode. I missed several important shoots because of this issue, and this tops my frustration list using the G9 II.
Another great channel that tests out cameras and lenses in everyday situations is the Everything Man. When I was in the market for a lens that could do everything, I was seriously considering the Sony 24 to 240mm lens. And when I watched the Everything Man vlogging with it, showing the kind of image quality you could get and exactly how heavy it would feel, that sort of hands-on review is something I appreciate more than anything.
Favorite lens that I find myself always going for every time I go out in the field and really not knowing what I have to capture, and even for weddings, just because it's so versatile, is the one we're looking at right now, which is the Sony 24 to 240 f3.5 to 6.3. Now, this isn't the fastest lens at f3.5. It doesn't have a constant aperture. It's not even parfocal. You lose your focus point every time you zoom in and out. But there's just something about this lens. You get the shot. It's so versatile. So you can go from 24 right now, which we're at, which is certainly wide enough for vlogging. Plus, this lens is optically stabilized, which is not that common in a lot of Sony lenses. And if you pair that with active steady shot, you got yourself a pretty stable lens there for vlogging. But then if you want to flip the camera around and catch something that's damn near down the block, you have that option, 24 to 240. On top of being 24 to 240, most Sony cameras have some kind of APS-C crop mode, which turns this from a 24 to 240 all the way up to a 24 to 360. And then if you turn on active steady shot, which is another 1.1 times crop, you can get basically all the way up to 400 mil on this.
When a camera channel showcases compact cameras and lenses, combined with relaxing music and a beautiful aesthetic, you can count me in. Constantine S. Photography has such a laid-back vibe. She's not afraid to use APS-C lenses on a full-frame camera to create gorgeous images.
In this video, I'm going to show you my compact versatile setup.
I'm gonna show you how this combo performs in bright daylight as well as low light environment, so make sure you watch until the end. The first stop is the Taichung train station. For architecture shot, an ultra wide angle lens is very helpful. Here's a comparison of 20 versus 27mm perspective. At the train station, I noticed a beautiful beam of light coming from the top, so I took a few shots. $15mm APS-C equals 75 full frame. So here you can see very different perspectives of the same building. I'm quite surprised that at 18mm APS-C, the walk-in footage still looks pretty steady.
Sometimes a camera channel becomes my favorite when they've been able to answer a technical question I've had when I couldn't find the answer anywhere. The channel Geeky Nerdy Techie was able to confirm that Sony lenses work better with Sony's in-body image stabilization system than third-party lenses.
With the dynamic active steady shot paired with first-party lenses, you're going to get much better stabilization than you will with some third-party lenses. Now, the great news is that Bright Star lens I recently reviewed got a firmware update which fixes the IBIS connection to the camera, and it works just as well as this now. And there's plenty of cheaper lenses for the Sony ZV-E1, so if that's important to you, that might work. But doing hiking, I would recommend, if you're going for the Sony, make sure you get a Sony lens. It's going to ensure that you're not going to have any problems with the in-body image stabilization, or less problems. And the dynamic active steady shot is very similar to the E-stabilization set to standard on here.
When a camera channel helps me solve a problem like one I was having with the Sony ZV-E1 and some flickering lights, it quickly becomes one of my favorites. This channel, called The Sad Studio, showed me a feature on my camera that I didn't even know existed. It can do a scan to help you find the perfect shutter speed to eliminate flicker.
I just created a video talking about the Philips Hue bulbs and how I was really excited to use them in my office and in my YouTube studios, but then I look at the background and they're flickering. Can you see it? Very annoying. Now, my A7 IV and my new ZV-E1 both have variable shutter speeds, which you can go through like 0.1 or 0.2 increments and try and find the shutter speed that works. Ain't nobody got time for that. However, this camera has a feature called variable shutter speed, and it has a TV scan, a button that you can program, and it finds it automatically for you. Does it work? Okay, let's try it now. I turned on the variable shutter speed, and now I have the button set, programmed. How is it? Is it still there?
I'm attracted to some camera channels not because of the cameras they discuss, but because of the personality of the host. Vic Berry has wonderful camera presence. I'm not ashamed to admit this. I love an Irish accent.
You know what the biggest mistake people make when they're talking on camera? They talk to the camera. That's right, you heard it here first. Stop talking to the camera and start talking to people. I want to share with you the top mistakes you could well be making and you just don't know it, but more importantly, I'm also going to tell you how to fix those mistakes. Now, I haven't pulled this out of the back of a van somewhere. I'm basing this on over a decade of experience as a voiceover actor and a commercial talk show host, let alone a trillion years making content. You really have to keep in mind that you're talking to another human, okay? Not a camera. So there is somebody on the other side of this video. I'm not talking to in this case, a Sony ZV-E1. You're not talking to the camera. You're talking to another human. Now, you don't know their name. You don't know where they're from. In fact, chances are you don't know anything about them. But that's okay because you're talking to another human, not a camera.
When a camera channel can help me relax and it doesn't flare up my gas at the end of the day, it's much appreciated. The channel Mark Burden Photography does just that. When he takes his walks out in the countryside and then shares his marvelous bird photos, there's nothing that I like better than to unwind with his channel at the end of the day.
For me, summer is the hardest time of the year for photography. I really struggle. Sunrises are too early, sunsets are too late. The light is really contrasty and harsh. Everything's green. The birds have disappeared, they've had the chicks. And it's frustrating because the weather's so nice and you want to get out there with your camera. It's just a nightmare.
Now, sometimes the host of a small camera channel is coming from a much larger channel that was built up to over 1 million subscribers with someone else. I've come to appreciate Chelsea Mercado Northrup's Lightroom editing tips. I also enjoy her wildlife photography vlogs.
Hi, I'm moving, and I'm letting you know for a few reasons. Well, one, you're going to notice, because look, the whole house is empty, and I won't be filming here anymore. And I've filmed here the whole time that you've been watching videos. The video studio downstairs, the photo studio upstairs. You've seen the podcast and the new show and our office and really almost every single part of this house. So I wanted to show you before I make my new start. And I wanted to thank you because when we first moved into this house, we had a dream and it started here and it happened because of you.
Not every channel is going to reach over 100,000 subscribers like Mark Bennett's Camera Crisis, but it doesn't mean that the channel isn't brilliant, and it doesn't mean that the channel isn't worthy of watching. This is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the incredible camera channels I've come across. If you have any channel suggestions, please let me know. If you like this video, give it a like, consider subscribing for more camera-related content from a newbie like me. God bless.